So you've watched the top Poketubers kick major butt. You've seen all the hacks and cheered at the World's Tournament. And now, you want to get into competitive Pokemon battling. But you don't know where to start. Well, you've come to the right place. These are my top 10 tips to becoming the very best like no one ever was. Number 10. Watch others and learn from their mistakes. This one is the lowest on the list because you don't necessarily need to do this, but it makes it a lot easier for you if you're in the exact same situations they're in, which happens a lot more often than you'd think. Never will I forget that a Mega Charizard Y can't OHKO a Rotom Wash that's fully invested in special defense. I suggest really good battlers like Shady Penguin or PokeAMD. They live commentate over their battles and always explain their moves and mistakes, which should help you learn from their mistakes. Number 9. Learn the lingo. Sweepers, spinners, and spin blockers, oh my! It pays off to learn the lingo. When you're learning from the best, it really helps to understand what they're saying. There'll be another video about this later, but for now, I'll leave a link in the description below so that you can learn all the terms, or at least most of them. Number 8. Abilities are key. Learn the abilities of all the Pokemon in the OU tier, and I know that sounds like a lot of work, but it'll really pay off. It'll help you get more acquainted with the most popular Pokemon, and that way you won't be in for a surprise when you're taking damage from Ferrothorn's Iron Barb. Number 7. Study the standard sets. Most people run the same few moves on every Pokemon. It's extremely important to know what's popular now and what's not. As of right now, moves like Knockoff and Defog are very prominent in the metagame, unlike what they used to be. A lot of Pokemon get knockoff, so be extremely careful of that. Number 6. EVs and IVs. EVs and IVs are extremely important to your Pokemon. One of the most important things to competitive Pokemon battling. I'll go way more in depth on this in a later video, but for now, check out the links below to learn exactly what they do. Just know that they're extremely important. And the only reason why this is lower on the list is because if you're using a battle simulator like Pokemon Showdown or Pokemon Online, they can suggest EV spreads for the Pokemon that you choose, so you don't need to worry about it as much. Number 5. Don't be afraid to predict. One of the biggest parts of being a good battler is being able to know when to predict and what to predict. You have a Choice Banded Scizor and your opponent has a Scarred Victini. You believe that he's going to go for the Recreate. Well, act on it. Switch into your Heatran with Flash Fire and get a boost while forcing a switch. It's good to predict, but don't go overboard and overpredict. Think of risk versus reward. Ask yourself, is it necessary to predict? If I predict wrong, will I lose an important Pokemon on my team? Just think in the back of your head, risk versus reward. What do I gain from making this prediction, and what do I lose from this prediction? Number 4. Pick a tier and stick with it. I know it's very overwhelming with all the tiers out there. There's OU, there's UU, NU, RU, PU, Ubers, and now there's the new metagame Anything Goes. But OU is the best tier to learn how to get good at battling. People usually run the same sets and the same handful of Pokemon, so you can learn how to predict. You can learn how to use standard sets and what each Pokemon's role is on their team. It really helps you get used to competitive battling by sticking with one tier, and I strongly suggest the OU tier. If you don't want to go with OU, that's completely fine, but stick with the tier you choose for a bit until you get good before going into another. You want to get your bearings before jumping into a whole different metagame. Number 3. Learn how to build a good and balanced team. Building a good team is a huge part of being a good battler. Make sure your team accounts for type disadvantages. Make sure your team is well balanced. Make sure your team can handle common Pokemon that you're going to see all the time, like Greninja, like Talonflame, Rotom Wash, Landorus T, etc., etc. It really helps to keep yourself within the standard 6 Pokemon set of 2 walls, 1 physical wall, 1 special wall, a physical sweeper, a special sweeper, a lead Pokemon, and then 1, maybe an extra physical sweeper, maybe an extra special sweeper, or maybe a cleric, any sort of other poke that you feel can help revolve around your team. Number 2, know your type advantages and disadvantages. This is one of the most important things of all of Pokemon, not just competitive Pokemon. Know your weaknesses and your strengths. You cannot be good at this game without knowing that ground is weak to ice or that fairy is immune to dragon. Your opponent will almost always capitalize on your mistakes, and that is a big part of this game. Number 1, practice. Don't be afraid to lose. Practice, practice, practice. You will not learn unless you practice. Lose, and lose a lot. That's the key to being good at anything. You're going to lose a lot. That's a given. But you're also going to win a lot once you've noticed the patterns and trends of teams. You'll start to notice Pokemon that you need to get rid of before you can set up your sweep. Pokemon that you know will set up hazards or that carry knockoff. It's extremely important to practice. I can't stress that enough. You can practice on Pokemon Battle Simulation websites like PokemonShowdown.com, which I'll leave a link in the description below. Follow these 10 tips and you'll be a Pokemon master in no time. Thanks for watching.